Tribe, Book 2, Todd Mills Mystery. Author, R.D. Zimmerman. Publisher, Scrib Pub, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Narrator, Eric Aust. Chapter 20. From the windows of her living room, Janice watched Todd and Rollins trudge through the snowy night and down to the street. She wondered if Todd had guessed, if he even suspected, but as far as she could tell, he hadn't. The entire truth was just so bizarre that it probably wouldn't occur to him. She wondered what he'd do if he ever did find out. God, she was so tired of this secret, exhausted from working so hard to conceal it for so very long. They didn't take Rollins' silver sedan, which was relatively free of snow, but instead brushed off Todd's Cherokee, Rollins wiping the rear window with his gloved hand and Todd scraping nearly a half-foot from the windshield and hood. She wanted them to be gone, to be on their way at once, for there was something she had to do. Oh, Lord, how had this gotten so incredibly screwed up? It seemed to take forever, but finally the two of them climbed into the large four-wheel drive vehicle. The headlights burst on, and Janice stared after them as the Cherokee began to plow forward and slowly make its way into the middle of the street. As Todd drove on, Janice pressed closer to the window, watching in the light of a street lamp as he turned right at the first corner and at last disappeared into the wintry storm. Thank God, they were gone, she thought, quickly turning away from the window. There was something she had to do, a call she had to make, right this very second. Not wasting a moment, she hurried across the living room to the staircase. Taking the stairs two at a time, she climbed to the second floor, then passed through the upstairs hall. She had the address somewhere, the phone number too, but where? Damn it, where? Turning into the first room, she entered her study, a small room with beige walls and dark brown blinds on the windows. She went to her desk, a long white laminated table with stacks of papers and bills on one side, her black cordless phone with the short rubber antenna on the other. She yanked open the single drawer. 6 months ago, she'd gotten one of those electronic organizers into which she'd entered all her addresses, except one. She didn't know why. She remembered staring at the address and name, remembered that of all the numbers she had, this was the one she didn't want to lose. After all, what if she dropped the electronic organizer and it broke? What if she sat down next to a large magnet? Might that not make it go haywire? Almost every other address could be replaced, either through friends or from a Rolodex at work, but not this one, which was one of the primary reasons she'd kept her old, worn address book. But if she'd been so blasted careful about keeping the little book, then why the hell couldn't she remember where she'd put it? Shit! This was all too typical of her, of the disorganized manner in which she kept things, and she swept aside pencils and pens, paper clips and stamps, her stapler as well as the cordless phone, but no worn and cracked little black leather book. What the hell had she done with that stupid thing? Janice stopped, put her hand to her forehead. Wait a minute, she told herself. Where did she put things that didn't have a file or a place of their own? Of course! From the bookshelf, she took a large blue bowl, overflowing with everything from the extra garage door opener to a broken calculator. She was sure it was repairable, too. Finally, the book. She put the bowl on the middle of her paper-strewn desk, snatched out the little black book, and started thumbing through it. And sure enough, there it was, Pat's telephone number. Not hesitating a moment, she knocked an entire stack of papers onto the floor. As she reached for the cordless phone, without even thinking what she was going to say, she punched in the numbers. Only as it started to ring did she wonder if indeed Pat still lived in the same place, if in fact she'd be able to reach him. How many years had it been? They'd spoken by phone a couple of times since then, but she hadn't seen him since that year Zeb was born. Oh, God, if Todd thought he had some explaining to do. Wait until he heard about this. And yes, she realized she had to tell him. She couldn't hold it back anymore. This final aspect of the truth was eaten at her. After Greg died in that horrible accident, she knew what they were saying, all of them, about Pat. That was why she was nice to him. Heck, it was almost Christmas. She was supposed to be nice to others. So they had coffee at a little restaurant in downtown Evanston. I can't wait to get to France, and I can't believe I have to wait until the end of January. Seated in a cold plastic chair, Janice brushed aside her long straight hair. I'm supposed to go to my parents in Phoenix over Christmas, but I'm sure as hell not looking forward to it. It's just so boring down there. Pat's face suddenly brightened, and he reached out and grabbed Janice by the hand. I know. Let's take a road trip. I've got a car. We can just take off and get the hell out of here. We can do whatever we want. Hey, I even have friends in Colorado. We could stay with them. That was how they eventually ended up in bed, Janice and Pat. The trip was a lark, a way to escape their foreboding lives. Now, 2 days out from Northwestern, they were in some dumpy motel room with only one sagging double bed and no TV. That was all they could afford. It was freezing, too. Phoenix, not to mention the south of France, was beginning to sound better and better. To make matters still worse, Pat had bought a bottle of tequila, of which he drunk half, and they were lying on the bed together, Janice in her flannel nightgown and heavy socks, Pat in a t-shirt and jeans, because there weren't even any chairs in the room. Actually, she knew why she'd been nice to Pat, of course. She had an ulterior motive. She needed to talk to someone safe, non-judgmental, someone in the same boat. She wanted to tell him about herself, that she liked women, or that maybe she did. She didn't know, wasn't sure what she felt. Was he confused like that? Finally, she asked the question that she hoped would lead to the larger conversation, the big picture. So, Pat, are you gay? Suddenly, his drunken breath was in her face and his hand was on her breast. What do you think? She grabbed him by the wrist. Pat, well, do you? I just want to talk. I thought it would be good. Actually, I don't care what you are. Well, I'm not, he said, twisting his hand free and then grabbing her nightgown and rubbing her left tit. I'm really not. Pat, stop it. Why? Come on, cut it out. But, and then he was raising himself up, crawling on top of her. You know you're really sexy. She started pushing him away. Pat, don't. Why don't you think I can do it with a woman? He kissed her on the neck, his lips all sloppy and wet. Frankly, I don't care if you can do it with a tree. Well, maybe I can't manage that one, he giggled and reached down to her crotch, then started purling up her nightgown. But you, on the other hand, are unbelievable. Don't. Just try and stop me. Pat. Yeah, you want it, don't you? Get the fuck off me. Yeah, fuck. Fuck. Janice started bucking and twisting, the fear coursing through her as he hiked her gowns up, over her knees, up her thighs. Shit, this couldn't be happening. Pat was supposed to be like her. He was supposed to be safe, and just as she realized how drunk he was, she realized how much stronger he was than her. Stop, or I'm going to scream. He lunged for the tequila bottle, and then Janice felt a shower of burning booze as he dumped the bottle all over her face. She clenched her eyes shut, started to shout, but then he poured the rest of the booze into her mouth, at least a quarter bottle. Drink up, little girl, he laughed. She gasped for air, inhaled, and her body screamed as the tequila whooshed into her lungs like liquid fire. Christ, she couldn't breathe. She couldn't make a sound. Please, Lord, she begged, don't let me die here. He slapped her once, twice, maybe more, and when she opened her eyes, she saw that he'd ripped off his own jeans, and his dick was hard and arched. I'm going to fuck you, Janice, he said, his voice deep and slurred. You know why? You know why I'm going to fuck you? Because my cock goes everywhere, just like last week your boyfriend, your Todd, was sucking on this cock. That's right, don't look so shocked. He's the faggot, not me. My cock was in his mouth, and now I'm going to put it right in your pussy. It was as if he'd taken an electrical cord and shocked her. Todd? Todd and Pat together? She just lay there, the tequila still burning within her body, Pat's words searing her mind, and he did it. He fucked her. In the end, Janice was just so freaked out that she lay there as passive as a pillow. When he was done, she crawled out from underneath him and stumbled into the bathroom where she locked the door. She curled up in the bathtub and cried, and then in the middle of the night she got up, snuck out into the room where Pat was snoring. She took all his money, all of his credit cards, and walked across town to the bus station, where she caught a Greyhound at 5:03 a.m. She arrived in Phoenix 2 days later. When an answering machine picked up after the fourth ring and announced that she'd reached a particular business office, she recognized the deep voice. "Okay," she said to herself, "don't be afraid. It's okay. Just sound strong. Sound calm." Standing up and starting to pace in the small room, Janice told herself to be brief and to the point. When the signal came for her to leave a message, Janice put one hand to her forehead, closed her eyes, and said, "Hi, this is Janice Gray calling for Pat. Please tell him there's a problem and that we need to talk." She left her phone number, then hung up, clutching the cordless phone against her breast and wishing it to ring. That very instant, with a return call, she headed down to the kitchen, where she heated a mug of water in the microwave. When it was hot, she dropped in a tea bag and sat down at her small breakfast table, the marble one with the black iron base. Now all she had to do was wait. A Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold: to offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides, and in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.